School of our Divine Infinite Being, Central Doctrine.
Sattvas, Rajas, Tamas, Titanic and Olympic forces in the practice of Raja Kundalini. In Jung's major studies into Tantra Kundalini Yoga, he referenced the psychology of Tantric Yoga, what I have hereto called mandala psychology. And as stated earlier by Jung from his written work on Tantra, Indian philosophy is namely the interpretation given to the precise condition of the non-ego, which affects our personal psychology, however independent from us it remains. It sees the aim of human development as bringing about an approach to and connection between the specific nature of the non-ego and the conscious ego. Tantra Yoga then gives a representation of the conditions and the developmental phases of this impersonality, as it itself, in its own way, produces the light of a higher superpersonal consciousness. This process of merging the ego and the non-ego, or the waking state self, and the unconscious and collective unconscious divine double, is done through the merging of rajas, activity, becoming, with the two static states of Sattva and Tamas. Sattva being the body of light, and Tamas the material self, temporal in experience but eternal at the boundary of the universe. Let's continue by quoting from one of the most influential tantras in Indian philosophy.
Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas are the three qualities which are present in all beings. Sattva is pure and brings about harmony and balance. It is luminous and full of wisdom. Tamas, on the other hand, brings about darkness, ignorance, and inertia. It is heavy and veils the truth. Rajas are the active force that causes motion and agitation. It is through Rajas that beings are impelled towards action, and it is Rajas that drives the mind either towards Sattva, towards light and knowledge, or towards Tamas, towards darkness and ignorance. Sattva and Tamas are both of a static nature. Sattva, though pure and illuminating, remains still and unmoving unless stirred. Tamas, being heavy and obscuring, also remains fixed, binding the soul in ignorance. It is Rajas which is active and impels movement. It is through Rajas that the stillness of Sattva can be harnessed towards light, or the inertia of Tamas can drag the soul into deeper darkness. Thus, Rajas is the force of action and change, influencing the direction of the soul's journey, either towards liberation and the light of Sattva, or into the bondage and darkness of Tamas. Mahanirvana Tantra of the Great Liberation.
All at once, within the becoming of Raja, there exists the luminous, massless, eternal stillness of Sattva, whose stillness is like that of a spinning wheel that seems at rest but is actually traveling so fast it appears to be still. Through the limitless, liberating, transitional energy of Raja, Sattva, or in the language of Theurgy, the body of light, as Sattva is light, brings about divinatory, revelatory, synchronistic, and ecstatic knowledge of our immortality. Within the becoming of Raja, it is not that the stillness of Sattva is stirred up, it is actually the opposite. Like light that breaks into a spectrum of color, Raja's activity on Sattva breaks its perfect continuity into color and form. Sattva itself, in essence, is the very speed limit within the confines of space-time, the speed of light, approximately 180,000 miles per second. Just as the light that fills the world and illuminates all that we see appears at rest, but is filled with the vision of the physical world, so is the mind a landscape that fills with form and shape illuminated by one's inner sight. Color breaks into a spectrum due to dispersion, which occurs when light passes through a medium like a prism or water droplets. Dispersion happens because different colors, wavelengths of light, travel at slightly different speeds through a medium other than air, causing them to bend, refract by different amounts. White light, which is a combination of all visible colors, enters a medium and is refracted, but each color bends at a unique angle. This separation of colors produces a spectrum with shorter wavelengths like blue and violet, bending more than longer wavelengths like red and orange. This phenomenon is what causes the familiar rainbow effect when light interacts with prisms or raindrops. Raja, the divine will, the attention, the observer, consciousness, bending all forces towards the light of Sattva, breaks their experience into a multicolored, multi-toned expression of archetype and form within the luminous imaginal body of light. These forms, or vibrations in the void, are of a specific character and intelligence, offering a vast agency of relationship. We call them the gods, goddesses, the eternal archetypes and forms, all manifestations of the One Self, the totality state of existence, our divine infinite being.
In true magic, the whole of the inertia of the universe is with you. It moves with you. You are doing nothing really by your own power, but only because you are aligned with the universal will, and it is carrying you along with it. Aleister Crowley, Magic Without Tears.
All at once, the inertia of Tamas is also present as Raja, the observer, the active will, moving towards higher states of experience, drawing on Sattva, is at the very same time drawn into inertia by Tamas. The more one focuses towards the path of disciplined action, the more one consciously takes the shape of the multi-toned expressions of Sattva that manifest, and through the effort, Tamas also increases in inertia. Every external experience of Sattva's revelatory, luminous, liberating energy is immediately reflected in Tamas, the material world of Maya, which without cultivating Sattva would remain hidden, ignorant, veiling the truth, making the world seem fleeting, meaningless, and temporary. The action of Raja is never static, it is endlessly active, just as gravity is the constant force within the cosmos. You have no choice, you will move in one direction or the other, just as a planet has no choice but to circle the solar center. You are either moving towards unity with Tamas, inertia, slothfulness, laziness, ignorance, greed, jealousy, anger, scatteredness, and in finality, identification with the Maya of the temporal world, where the spirit remains hidden, or you are moving in the other direction.
For the paternal mind sowed symbols through the world, and in the bodies of you mortals, it sowed the flowery fire of the soul, that you might always attend to the sacred things. For the fire, which is first beyond, did not shut up his power in matter by means of works, but by mind. For the flower of mind is the channel of fire. Chaldean Oracles.
Tamas, while often seen as negative due to its association with physicality and temporality, is not inherently evil. Many religious traditions have personified it as such, but in Tantra and Theurgy, Tamas is revered for its sacred role. Tamas can act as a catalyst for movement, sometimes pushing us towards spiritual growth. Sattva represents light, while Tamas symbolizes physical matter, light frozen within the fabric of space-time. Together with Raja, they constitute the fundamental components of our existence, as described in the Mahatattva or Sāṃkhya philosophy. In both Tantra and Theurgy, the physical world is understood as a blend of Sattva and Tamas. Raja serves to bind these forces together, directing the Kundalini, the goddess energy rooted in the physical body at the base of the spine, upward through the 1,000-petal lotus at the crown. This journey transforms the physical into a spiritual realm, a personification of Goloka Vrindavan, where heaven manifests on earth, uniting our divine double with our waking consciousness. At the cosmic horizon, on the razor's edge of existence, our eternal nature is intrinsically woven into every moment of past, present, and future.
The three gunas represent nature as the revelation of spirit, nature as the passage of descent from spirit to matter, or of ascent from matter to spirit, and nature as the dense veil of spirit, Mahanirvana Tantra of the Great Liberation.
By cultivating Sattva through Raja, our intuition sharpens and the physical world opens up to synchronicity, allowing us to recognize the symbols sown through the worlds, mentioned in the Chaldean Oracles. Moving towards Sattva transforms Tamas from ignorance into a state rich with meaning, revealing the eternal beauty within the physical world, where light lies hidden in matter, waiting to be seen by those with the wisdom to perceive it, lifting the dense veil of the spirit and nature. The non-dual state of being must include the temporal imperfect material existence, the body itself, in the form of metabolism, sexual energy, nervous system conductivity, blood flow, and cellular activity, although a material manifestation of Tamas, is rooted in Raja. When one disciplines the body as they should the mind, it becomes stronger, more beautiful, more attractive, and overall healthy. This is one of the main purposes behind tantric practices in human sexuality, which we highly recommend to consenting adults in private settings where activities remain sacred. The body is the sacred temple of the spirit, but when one becomes identified with only the body, it causes irrationalities, imbalances, and ignorance. You may be physically fit, but over-obsessed with money and power. You may be disciplined in material arts, but remain angry and a danger to others. Tamas are always mixed with some form of sattva, although hidden to many, or you simply would never survive. Without striving towards some form of enlightenment and unity, no level of greatness can be achieved, whether riddled with the shortcomings of Tamas or otherwise. We are, as they say in ancient Greece, a mix of Titanic and Olympic forces, embodying both the primal chaotic energies of the Titans and the higher ordered aspects of the Olympians. This duality within us reflects the ongoing struggle between the material and spiritual, the temporal and the eternal, as we strive towards realization of our true immortal nature. This duality is vividly illustrated in the myth of Dionysus. The Titans, representing the chaotic primal forces, tear apart the young Dionysus, who embodies life and divine renewal. In his wrath, Zeus destroys the Titans with his thunderbolt, reducing them to ashes. From this mixture of Dionysus's divine essence and the remnants of the Titans, humanity is created. Thus, within each of us lies a fragment of divine immortality, Dionysus's spark, entwined with raw, destructive titanic forces. Our inherent nature is born from both destruction and divinity. We constantly navigate the tension between our baser instincts and our higher spiritual potential. As we pursue the disciplined action of spiritual awakening, we must strive to reconcile these opposing forces, allowing the divine spark within us to rise and guide us towards unity with the infinite, transcendent self. As Jung states, the archetype is both tied into our instincts and the reflection of them through simultaneous intuitions. The necessity for bridging these realities is something well understood in the Tantras and the Platonic Theurgy of Iamblichus. The synthesis of Raja Yoga and Tantra Kundalini represents the ultimate spiritual practice that not only reconciles the profound philosophical ideas discussed, but also brings them into lived experience. This combination embodies the union of individual consciousness with the cosmic consciousness, offering a direct pathway to the realization of the self's true nature as one with the Supreme Self, the Divine Double, the omnipresent consciousness that permeates the entire cosmos, our divine infinite being. Raja Yoga, often referred to as the Royal Path, is the practice of mind discipline and self-realization through meditation, ethical living, and the cultivation of deep awareness. The ultimate goal of Raja Yoga is to achieve samadhi, a state of superconsciousness where the practitioner experiences unity with the divine. In this state, the practitioner transcends the limitations of the ego and merges with the universal consciousness, realizing their true nature as the Divine Double, which, as described, is spread across the cosmic horizon and intricately woven with the past, present, and future of the cosmos. This Divine Double is not just a reflection or a shadow of the cosmos, but is identical to the very fabric of the cosmic horizon itself, spread across its infinitely hot spherical boundary. In this way, the practitioner realizes that their highest conscious self, the apex of their awareness, is the very center of the cosmos, mirroring the singularity that lies at the core of the universe. Tantra Kundalini, on the other hand, emphasizes the awakening and unification of the divine feminine energy, Shakti, which lies dormant at the base of the spine. Through practices such as asanas, pranayama, and mantra, this energy is awakened and guided upward through the chakras, leading to a profound state of divine union. Kundalini represents the dynamic aspects of the cosmos, the force of creation, sustenance, and dissolution. And in this way, Tantra Kundalini ensures that the transcendence achieved through Raja Yoga is not just an abstract concept, but a lived and embodied experience. Raja Yoga provides the framework for this transcendence, guiding the practitioner through disciplined surrender to deeper layers of conscious awareness, while Tantra Kundalini ensures that this awareness is not isolated from the material world, but fully integrated with it. As the practitioner moves further into this union, they witness more and more the ultimate nature of reality, as it is revealed through the eyes of the eternal self, the Divine Double. This self is one with the entire nature of the eternal material world, Prakriti, just as their highest level of awareness is one with the omnicentric singularity at the center of the cosmos. In this state of absolute non-dual union with the divine, the practitioner realizes an infinite identity, an identity that is the self, was always the self, now of an infinite nature, transcendent and liberated. Through the equation psyche equals singularity, the self is not lost to the divine. Instead, it finds its true home within the immortal infinite nature that has always been the very center of being all along. The combination of Raja Yoga and Tantra Kundalini is not merely a spiritual practice, but the ultimate realization of the non-dual nature of reality, the reconciliation of the individual and the cosmic, the finite and the infinite. It is the path that leads to the full recognition of the self as both the observer and the observed, the divine double, the cosmic consciousness. Through this practice, the practitioner does not lose their identity, but instead realizes it in its truest, most divine form, as an expression of the infinite, the eternal, the supreme self. It is a path that brings together the most profound teachings of the world's spiritual traditions, offering a direct, experiential path to the ultimate truth, the ultimate reality, the ultimate liberation. What is said of the nature of Raja Kundalini is mirrored in the West through Iamblican Platonic Theurgy, and at our school we recommend and practice both. Avidya non-duality and qualified non-dualism already found in the Gospel of Tamas.
This self of mine within the heart is smaller than a grain of rice or barley, yet greater than the earth, greater than the heavens, greater than all these worlds. Chandogya Upanishad, chapter 3, section 14, verse 1. In the beginning, this was the self alone, in the shape of a person. Looking around, he saw nothing but himself. He first said, I am. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, chapter 1, section 4, verse 7.
The Gospel of Tamas, which we have quoted and described several times in this work, in the earliest century CE already taught this paradoxical perspective of both the Vaishnava and Shakta Shaivite schools together.
When you make the two one, and when you make the inner as the outer and the outer as the inner and the above as the below, and when you make the male and the female into a single one, so that the male will not be male nor the female be female, when you make eyes in place of an eye, a hand in place of a hand, a foot in place of a foot, an image in place of an image, then you will enter the kingdom. Gospel of Tamas, saying 22.
This passage speaks directly to the idea of achieving a state of unity where dualities, inner and outer, above and below, male and female, are reconciled. It aligns with the non-dual avidya philosophical position, a view also held by the Platonists and likely the source of the Tamasian Christians. We previously addressed this concept in the chapter on the personal daemon, or the infinite self. Here there is no male or female, no above or below, no within or without. All are reconciled into the immortal non-dual self, an infinite state of ecstasy that manifests in the physical world, represented in the union of man and woman. Through this inner reconciliation, you enter the kingdom, becoming actually aware of both your distinctness and unity within it. This kingdom is Goloka Vrindavan, a vision of the eternal nature of existence, where heaven manifests on earth.
When you make eyes in place of an eye, a hand in place of a hand, a foot in place of a foot, an image in place of an image, then you will enter the kingdom.
This reconciliation echoes the Achintya Bheda Abheda philosophy, where the soul and the divine are simultaneously distinct and unified. You both become and at once become aware of the kingdom of God. The kingdom is the transcendent state of realization and liberation in identification with our divine infinite being, the self-God archetype, the absolute unity, the supreme ultimate reality. Reconciled into Taoist thought, this represents the great reconciliation of opposites, God and the self. It is a state that is completely non-dual and unified, yet transformed and acutely aware of God's kingdom. In this kingdom, we are eternally interwoven with the entire cosmos at every point as sons of the living Father.
I will give you what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, what no hand has touched, what has not arisen in the human heart. Gospel of Tamas. Saying 17.
The notion of Achintya, or the inconceivable nature of the divine relationship, is also mirrored in the Gospel of Tamas. This speaks of the transcendent nature of divine knowledge, which is beyond the grasp of ordinary perception and reasoning, precisely the kind of knowledge that Achintya describes. This relationship between the individual soul and the Supreme Being is not something that can be fully comprehended through logic or the senses. It is a mystical truth that must be realized through spiritual insight. As explained before, it is, as Iamblichus deemed it, a supra-rationality.
If those who lead you say to you, "See, the kingdom is in the sky," then the birds of the sky will precede you. If they say to you, "It is in the sea," then the fish will precede you. Rather, the kingdom is inside of you, and it is outside of you. When you come to know yourselves, then you will become known, and you will realize that it is you who are the sons of the living Father. But if you will not know yourselves, you dwell in poverty, and it is you who are that poverty. Gospel of Tamas, saying 3.
The duality of Beta, difference, and Abheda, oneness, is more directly obvious and present in the above saying in the Gospel of Tamas. The emphasis on individuality is subtly woven into the text, where Jesus speaks of the unique nature of each soul, while simultaneously urging the dissolution of individuality into a higher unity with the divine. The above passage reveals the tension between individuality and unity. On the one hand, the kingdom is inside you, implying a personal, internal connection to the divine, Beta. This is echoed in the Chandogya Upanishad 8.1.1-3. This body is the city of Brahman. Within it is the abode, a small lotus flower, and within it a small space. What exists within that should be sought. That, verily, is what one should desire to understand. On the other hand, it is also outside of you, implying that this connection is universal and unites all beings, Abheda. The realization of oneness as a son of the living Father shows a direct relationship and deep unity with the divine. Yet it is a unity that does not dissolve the individual identity, but rather fulfills it.
I am the light that is over all things. I am all. From me all came forth, and to me all attained. Split a piece of wood, I am there. Lift up the stone, and you will find me there. Gospel of Tamas, saying 77.
This powerful statement echoes the Vedantic idea that the divine pervades all of creation, yet remains distinct as the source of all that exists. It reflects the Abheda, or oneness aspect, where everything is seen as an emanation of the divine. However, the fact that Jesus speaks of I am suggests a conscious individual aspect of the divine that interacts with creation, paralleling the Abheda, or difference aspect. This core tenet was found much earlier here in the Gospel of Tamas and has developed into a category of philosophy that we have touched on earlier, panentheism. Again, to emphasize, panentheism is the belief that the divine pervades and interpenetrates every part of the universe, while also transcending it. In this view, the universe is contained within the divine, but the divine is not limited to the universe. Unlike pantheism, which holds that God and the universe are identical, panentheism maintains that the divine is greater than the sum of its parts and exists both within and beyond all creation. This idea, as explained above, is echoed in string theory's eternal inflating space-time geometric unity, where the singularity is present within the megaverse of multiverses, with a potential for infinite other universes adjacent to our own. In Platonism, the concept of panentheism is reflected in the relationship between the One, or the Good, and the forms, as well as the material world. For Plato, the One is the highest reality, an ultimate source that transcends both the physical world and the realm of forms. However, it also permeates and gives rise to all existence. In this way, the One is both beyond the universe and present within it. This idea is further developed in Neoplatonism, particularly by Plotinus. He describes the One as the source from which all things emanate. Everything in existence is seen as an expression of the One, yet the One remains fundamentally beyond all manifestations. This universe, therefore, exists within the One as an emanation, but the One itself is more than the universe. This perspective aligns with panentheism, illustrating how the divine reality is immanent within the cosmos while also transcending it. Again, it is most directly from Platonism that the Gospel of Tamas would have reconciled these concepts, but they are equal to what we find in Vedantic traditions of qualified non-dualism and non-dual avidya. The Gospel of Tamas offers profound insights that align with the philosophical and mystical teachings of both Eastern and Western traditions. The paradoxical relationship between the individual soul and the divine, as described in Achintya Bheda Abheda, is fully addressed in the sayings of Jesus in this text. The concept of oneness and difference, the inconceivability of the divine relationship, and the unity of the divine within and without are all present in this ancient gospel. In this way, the Gospel of Tamas serves as a bridge between the mystical traditions of the East and the West, offering a perspective that is both timeless and universal. It demonstrates that the journey towards self-realization and divine union is not confined to a single tradition, but is a shared path that transcends boundaries of time, culture, and religious doctrine. Cosmic delusion. Fantasies about an afterlife. Rewards beyond the present must be avoided for those seeking enlightenment. This is a topic that we have addressed before, but it warrants further exploration due to its profound importance to the seeker. The state of liberation, described across thousands of writings from both East and West, points, through words and abstract terms, to transcendental truth, with each perspective connecting differently to individuals. For example, we hope our lessons on synchronicity, or meaning-imbued events in the environment that create a unitary experience of wholeness, have encouraged you to pay closer attention to your moment-by-moment realizations. Teachers, gurus, and spiritual guides, when disciplined, experienced, and sincere, illuminate the path with their very presence. We encourage you to seek those you can sit with and learn from in person whenever possible. Regardless of the path one chooses, the experience of our divine infinite being, the holy presence of the paternal monad, the union with the self-God archetype, and eventual total liberation is not a destination outside oneself, but a state of being, an experiential reality. Contrary to some traditional religious teachings, there is no afterlife where a select few will sit at the feet of Christ, nor a celestial field where one becomes an eternally blissful flower in Krishna's garden, unless, of course, you mean the here and now, and that flower is your current awareness. Such depictions of heaven, though comforting to many, are reflections of existing principles of true potential experience. Often, they lead to misplaced longings, or worse, serve as an excuse for not fully embracing one's dharma or life path in the present moment. The temporal nature of conscious experience often leads us to yearn for a promised heaven, fueled by the belief that, despite earthly challenges, we will be exalted through faith and devotion alone. This mindset is evident in the movements like Hare Krishna and the Christian doctrines derived from the Gospel of John, which promise salvation in the afterlife for believers, regardless of their earthly actions. Although we follow the teachings of Jesus and Krishna, as presented in the Bhagavad Gita and the Gospel of Tamas, we do not claim exclusive access to spiritual truths. Our central argument is simple yet profound. Heaven is here and now. While the soul is immortal and the body transient, the present moment is constant, no matter who or where we are. Many Christians believe that those who die without accepting Christ will be eternally separated from God, often described as hell, a state of suffering or isolation from divine presence. This belief is rooted in passages like John 14:6, where Jesus states, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." Similarly, the Hare Krishna movement teaches that those who do not believe in Krishna as the supreme being remain bound to the cycle of birth, death, and karma. However, they also assert that all living beings are eternally connected to Krishna, allowing for the possibility of devotion and liberation in this or future lifetimes. This belief fosters an elitist view, elevating their path above others. The absolutist mindset, whether in Christianity, Hare Krishna, or other traditions, is not only illusory, but potentially harmful. It casts a shadow over the world, rooted more in human imagination than divine truth. If truth is not realized in the present moment through discipline, dedication, faith, and meaningful action, it remains a fantasy, a perilous delusion. For some Christians, this manifests as the belief that non-Christians are condemned. For Hare Krishna devotees, it's the conviction that everyone will ultimately serve Krishna, perhaps even in extreme roles, such as being transformed into bathwater, or a gopi experiencing eternal ecstasy with the Lord. Such beliefs resemble grandiose, disassociated mass hallucinations perpetuated by spiritual leaders. This perspective fosters spiritual elitism, where followers of other paths are viewed as lost, misled, or doomed. Regardless of religion, Such a mindset clouds humanity's collective spiritual evolution. In contrast, our path, perennial mandalism, is rooted in nature and direct experience. Progressive, disciplined, and steady action dispels ignorance and unveils truth, achieved through whichever discipline suits the individual best. This path is grounded in the empirical reality of the present moment, fully aware and alive, free from fantasies of escape. As the saying goes, the only way out is in. What we do with our lives is far more significant than what happens after the end. Avoiding this responsibility often leads to repetition through reincarnation, not because of a lack of faith, but due to neglected purpose. If life is a school, then we must strive for a passing grade. Great effort is required to experience our true nature. It does not come any other way. There are many forms and many names for the path, but ultimately there is only one true direction. Guides and spirits of strength, Christ, Krishna, gurus, and teachers help us along the way. However, if we do not take the hard path with patience, honesty, integrity, compassion, perseverance, and trust in spiritual guidance, true growth will remain out of reach. Liberation begins when we decide to take the difficult path to truth. It is essential to remember, however, that our traditional Christian and Hare Krishna brothers and sisters are also striving to cultivate a disciplined relationship with existence in their own way. Their virtuous strivings towards truth are no different from ours. We celebrate, worship, and engage in spiritual communion alongside them, with one key difference in expectation. The present moment is akin to a tree planted in the immortal Garden of Eden. The more we immerse ourselves in the present, the more we realize our true natures, and the greater the tree grows. Enlightenment and the knowledge of our immortal existence are not distinct goals, but states of being accessible now. We believe in the afterlife, recognizing this life is one of many, yet we do not see the world as a prison to escape, but as a garden to tend. Near-death experiences, such as those explored in Timothy Desmond's course, Immortality and the Unreality of Death, offers glimpses into the ecstatic release of reuniting with families and friends. We do not argue against such experiences, but challenge the divisive convictions that separate individuals from one another. This separation, rooted in absolutist beliefs, contradicts the perennial truth that binds all of existence. The evolution of Brahman, from the Vedantic Brahmayanas to quantum energy and beyond. Brahman, as the ultimate cosmic principle, first emerged in the Vedic texts known as the Brahmayanas. These ritual commentaries present Brahman as the underlying force responsible for maintaining cosmic order, Rita. In the early Vedic period, Brahman was closely associated with sacrificial rituals, where the energy and essence of the universe were maintained through precise actions. The Brahmayanas describe how this force regulates the movement of celestial bodies, the cycle of seasons, and even the structure of human consciousness. In texts such as the Satapatha Brahmayana, between 100 to 800 BCE, Brahman is described as the primal breath that animates all of existence, transcending form and the material world.
He who is in man and he who is in the sun, both are one. Satapatha Brahmana 10.632.
This passage encapsulates the early Vedic understanding of the interconnectedness between the individual and the cosmos. This primal breath, or Brahman, operates beyond physical boundaries, existing both within and outside all forms. The distinction between the internal and external, the human and the cosmic, is dissolved within the framework of Brahman. The emphasis on cosmic order through ritual, called yajna, demonstrates an early version where Brahman is an energy accessed through precise human actions. Through this system of interconnectedness, Brahman emerges not only as an abstract principle, but also as an active force in the preservation of the universe. This original idea is found still within the tantric yoga practices of the East and the theurgic Western practices, where uniting with the supreme ultimate reality is engaged through ritual praxis. A foundational idea within our current model at the school of our divine infinite being, and the earlier practices of Iamblic and Platonism. The Upanishads represents a significant evolution in Vedic thought, where Brahman transforms from a ritualistic force to a more profound metaphysical principle. This transformation reflects the spiritual and philosophical birth of metaphysical thought during the later Vedic period. Brahman, as discussed in the Upanishads, is no longer just the force that maintains cosmic order, but becomes recognized as the ultimate reality behind all things. The famous declaration of the Chandogya Upanishad, Tat Tavam Asi, Thou art that, reveals that Brahman is not separate from the individual soul, Atman, but is identical to it. This revolutionary concept lays the foundation for a monistic worldview, where all dualities between self and universe, subject and object, are ultimately illusory.
In whom all this universe rests, is woven and shines. Mundaka Upanishad 2.2.5.
This verse demonstrates the all-encompassing nature of Brahman. It is not only the source of all creation, but also the very fabric through which existence manifests. The Upanishads give definition of this boundless reality, relating Brahman as the highest golden sheath in Mundaka Upanishad 2.2.9, symbolizing both cosmic potentiality and personal transcendence. The golden sheath holds the universe within its luminous bounds, encompassing everything from the vastness of the cosmos to the minutest expression of life. An obvious vision of the infinitely hot spherical plane of the cosmic horizon, which we will define more specifically below in its relation to the cosmic egg. Erwin Schrödinger, the renowned quantum physicist, was deeply influenced by the Upanishads and the Vedantic worldview. His groundbreaking insights into quantum mechanics and consciousness led him to a perspective that parallels the Vedantic concept of Brahman, the infinite, undivided reality, and Atman, the individual self. Schrödinger found in quantum mechanics a scientific reflection of these ancient spiritual teachings.
Consciousness is never experienced in the plural, only in the singular. There is only one thing. And what seems to be a plurality is merely a series of different aspects of this one thing, produced by a deception, the Indian Maya. Erwin Schrödinger, Mind and Matter.
This quote mirrors the Upanishadic vision that Brahman, the infinite reality, appears as a multitude of forms through the illusion of Maya, the holographic projection of third-dimensional temporal space. Maya is the cosmic illusion that makes the singular Brahman seem fragmented into countless entities. Schrödinger's interpretation of quantum physics revealed a striking similarity to Vedantic philosophy. In quantum mechanics, the wave function represents the total state of all probabilities for a particle. Before measurement, a particle exists in a superposition of all possible states, an infinite wave of potential outcomes. However, once observed, it collapses into a single localized state. This phenomenon reflects the Vedantic understanding of Brahman as the infinite wave of all potential realities, with Atman, the individual self, being a particular manifestation of this wave.
Multiplicity is only apparent. In truth, there is only one mind. There is no multiplicity of consciousness. It is all one, and this one consciousness is Brahman. Erwin Schrödinger, My View of the World.
Schrödinger saw the wave function in quantum mechanics as equal to the very same concept in reality as Brahman. Just as a particle exhibits wave-like behavior before collapsing into a singular state, the infinite consciousness, Brahman, appears as individual selves, Atman, within the material world. The perceived separation, the subject, I, and the object, the world, is an artificial division created by the mind. In reality, all distinctions are merely different expressions of the same underlying unity. The wave-particle duality in quantum physics, the idea that particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously, waves, but also show up as distinct entities, particles, when observed, reflects the Vedantic notion that the individual self, Atman, and the infinite consciousness, Brahman, are fundamentally the same. Schrödinger viewed this duality not just as a physical phenomenon, but as a profound truth about the nature of existence. For Schrödinger, the total wave function, the sum of all probabilities, corresponds to Brahman, the ultimate reality that is beyond all dualities and separation. The collapse of the wave function into a particle upon measurement mirrors the manifestation of the infinite Brahman into the finite Atman, which occurs through the act of observation or consciousness. In this sense, the universe itself is seen as a grand manifestation of Brahman's wave nature, with every individual consciousness being an expression of this infinite wave. Through this understanding, Schrödinger found a unifying principle between the mystical insights of Vedanta and the scientific revelations of quantum mechanics.
In the golden sheath is Brahman, without stain, without parts. Pure is it, the light of lights. That is what the knowers of the self know. Mundaka Upanishad 2:2-9. In whom the heaven, the earth, and the interspace are woven, and the mind with all the senses know that one alone, the Atman, and leave off other words. This is the bridge to immortality. Mundaka Upanishad 2:2-5. The Brahman called Sisumaram, free from all passions and parts, manifests in the external world in the highest golden sheath, the cosmic egg. That is pure, that is the highest of lights. It is that which the knowers of Atman know. Note, he is in the center of the cosmic as Sisumara, the light of all cosmic suns. He is even in the center of our sun and illuminating all planets. In the first respect, he is meditated upon as Sisumara, and in the second as Gayatri. Note, in man, the Brahman manifests in the heart of the auric egg, called the city of Brahman. In the universe, he manifests himself in the cosmic egg, called the golden sheath. These are the two places where Brahman may be meditated upon. Devi Bhagavata 36:12.
In Shaktism, Brahman is understood not only as a static force, but also as the dynamic creative principle that manifests through Shakti. While Brahman is the passive, formless reality, Shakti represents the active, transformative energy that brings the universe into being. This relationship is explored in the Devi Bhagavata Purana, which describes Brahman as both the Hiranyagarbha cosmic egg and the auric egg, the human field, symbolizing the totality of potential before differentiation. This vision is cross-defined in string theory's spherical cosmic horizon, where the entire past, present, and future of the cosmos is smeared out and interwoven at every point as holographic information or potential of form. And as we have explained before, this horizon is found coarse-grained in its totality at the Okima, the spherical boundary, emphasized in both Iamblican Platonism and string theory. These are perfect correlations developed centuries apart with nearly the same definition, one visionary, one scientific, but both explaining the same phenomena.
Shakti is both Maya, that by which the Brahman creating the universe is able to make itself appear to be different from what it really is, and Mula Prakriti, or the unmanifested avyakta state of that which, when manifest, is the universe of name and form. It is the primary so-called material cause, Mahanirvana Tantra, of the Great Liberation.
The cosmic egg represents the undifferentiated state of the universe before it splits into forms and phenomena. Within this cosmic egg, Brahman and Shakti coexist, with Shakti as the force that manifests the universe from Brahman's infinite potential. This interaction between potentiality and manifestation mirrors the quantum vacuum, which holds infinite possibilities before they collapse into form through quantum fluctuations. The quantum vacuum, when viewed through the lens of string theory and the holographic principle, takes on a new dimension that mirrors the interplay between Brahman and Shakti. In quantum field theory, the vacuum is not a void but an underlying ground state filled with potential, akin to the concept of Brahman, the formless and infinite source of all existence. According to the holographic principle, every point within our universe contains information about the entire cosmos, projected from the encoded spherical two-dimensional boundary, the cosmic horizon. The cosmic horizon, often described as a razor's edge, serves as the boundary of the observable universe where information is inscribed in the form of quantum bits. In Vedantic terms, the cosmic horizon is an exact parallel to the golden sheath and the cosmic egg, the limit of the knowable universe, where the infinite forms of Shakti's manifestations interact with Brahman's undifferentiated potential. The interplay at the horizon reflects the way Shakti draws forth form from Brahman, projecting them into the third-dimensional space-time that we experience. In string theory, the cosmic horizon represents the outermost limit of light and information, acting as the surface where the holographic encoding of the universe resides. Here, quantum vacuum fluctuations take on a vital role. Due to the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, the vacuum undergoes constant fluctuations, causing vertical particles to emerge spontaneously. This constant fluctuation at the edge can be viewed as Shakti's creative dance, the ebb and flow of forms, appearing and disappearing. In Shakta traditions, Leela refers to the dynamic activities of Shakti, the divine feminine power. Shakti is viewed as the force that brings forth the universe, and her play is evident in the ceaseless cycles of birth, growth, decay, and transformation. Her Leela is seen in both the nurturing aspects of nature and the fierce aspects of destruction, representing the constant interplay of opposites that constitutes the dance of creation. At the cosmic horizon, these vacuum fluctuations manifest as shifts in the information encoded on the boundary, influencing the entirety of the universe within. In this sense, Shakti's energy is the quantum fluctuations that give rise to particles and forces. Just as Shakti manifests the cosmos by stirring the latent potential of Brahman, quantum fluctuations at the razor's edge sculpt the space-time within, revealing that what we perceive as reality is but a holographic projection of deeper unseen processes. This is Shakti's Maya, the great illusion of the goddess's manifest reality. Virtual particles, which arise momentarily from the vacuum, can be seen as projections of Shakti's creative impulse at the cosmic horizon. Though these virtual particles annihilate quickly, they leave measurable effects on the universe, similar to how Shakti creates and dissolves forms within Brahman. The holographic principle implies that these particles' interactions at the horizon encode the information that govern the dynamics of space-time. For example, in the phenomena of vacuum polarization, vertical particles affect the forces between charged particles. Vacuum polarization is a fascinating phenomenon in which virtual particles briefly emerge and interact with charged particles, altering the forces between them. This occurrence illustrates that even in what we perceive as empty space, there are underlying dynamics that are constantly shaping the observable universe. This process parallels Shakti's influence, where her dance of creation affects the observable universe as she arises from the infinite formless Brahman. From the holographic perspective, the interactions of virtual particles at the horizon reveal that the physical universe is not composed of isolated three-dimensional objects, but is instead a manifestation of encoded information on the cosmic horizon, found reflected at every point in space-time. In string theory, quantum fields interact at the razor's edge of the cosmic horizon, influencing the nature of space-time itself. The cosmic horizon acts as a boundary where different fields, such as the electromagnetic field and the Higgs field, intersect, interact, and ultimately define the properties of particles and forces within the universe. When an electron interacts with the photon near this boundary, it disturbs the vacuum, temporarily altering the encoded information on the horizon. This disturbance, which can result in particle-antiparticle pair production, e.g. Hawking radiation, is akin to Shakti's creative power manifesting within Brahman's infinite potential. The cosmic horizon, therefore, serves as a canvas where Shakti's interplay with Brahman becomes tangible. Each interaction between fields, every disturbance of the vacuum, is a reflection of Shakti weaving her web of creation, structuring the universe through dynamic relationships encoded on this boundary. The holographic principle indicates that the richness of these interactions within space-time is fundamentally a projection from this edge, emphasizing Shakti's role as the dynamic expressive aspect of the universe. In quantum field theory, spontaneous symmetry breaking, as observed in the Higgs field, contributes to particles acquiring mass. The Higgs field has a non-zero vacuum expectation value, influencing particles as they pass through it. In the holographic framework, this process can be seen as the manifestation of Shakti at the cosmic horizon, where the fundamental symmetries of the universe are encoded. As particles transverse the cosmic horizon, they interact with the information encoded there, gaining properties such as mass. This interaction is the dynamic energy of Shakti, who shapes the undifferentiated Brahman into forms within specific attributes, giving birth to the cosmos as we perceive it. In string theory, these interactions are represented by oscillating strings, each corresponding to different particles. This highlights the concept that the universe's apparent complexity in three dimensions is fundamentally a projection from the two-dimensional cosmic horizon. Shakti, embodying the force of manifestation, is the dynamic energy that animates these strings within the field of Brahman. As these strings vibrate, they generate the structure of reality, transforming the infinite potential of Brahman into the diverse forms and phenomena that constitute the cosmos. Therefore, Shakti serves as a bridge between the undifferentiated unity of Brahman and the differentiated perceptible universe.